It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, my friends. Listen, I have a little scenario for you. Assume that you're in your home or you're in your garage, etc., and you smell smoke. And all of a sudden, you turn around and you go and you find out you have a fire in your home. What do? Immediately, you dial 911 and say, we have a fire here, and then things start to happen. What happens? Well, they contact the fire department, and within minutes, you have the fire people coming to your home or wherever the fire is to put that fire out. Now, let's go back a little bit. When you call that number, you're expecting the best of fire equipment. You're expecting the most experienced in volunteers. You're expecting them to do whatever is possible, whatever facility and whatever they have available to them. Hence the question is, when this fire truck comes, you want to make sure it's fully equipped. You want to make sure the volunteers have the proper equipment to service you. And I hope, my friends, you never, in God's name, ever have to make that call. You should also have fire extinguishers in your home, as you know that. So, what happens? We have a volunteer. You want to make sure they're equipped. You want to make sure you have the latest in technology. You want to make sure that fire truck is fully equipped. Costs money. And there is a department, of course, that money goes to this particular department. However, there are other funds needed to keep things going. Hence, one of those fundraisers is the Pottsville Clews. But let's go back to the volunteers. I'm going to talk to a person, no stranger to the show. He's the mayor of Pottsville, but most importantly, I think, for 40 years, he's been a volunteer. Dave, nice to see you.
Good to see you again, Sam.
Interesting scenario when God forbid there's a fire in someone's home, you're expecting the best to come to you. You're expecting trained people to know what they're doing so they just don't come in and rip your entire house down or wherever the fire is. And then you have volunteers. For 40 years you've been a volunteer, okay? This doesn't happen overnight. You want to run for mayor, all of a sudden a volunteer. No, you've been there all the time.
Been there a long time.
Tell me why, #1, Dave, going back 40 years ago, you wanted to become a volunteer.
Well, you know, my family, my father and my grandfather were both involved in the fire department. In fact, my grandfather was a founding member of Greenwood Hill Fire Company on the east side of Pottsville. And my dad was extremely active in the fire department. I tell stories of growing up where, you know, you might have been learning to throw a curveball in your backyard. I was learning what the friction loss was in a hose line to pump a fire truck. And you know, I cherish those days. But I also wanted to, you know, give back to the community. I seen the family and really what it is a brotherhood amongst firefighters, and that's whether they're professional or volunteer like we have here in the city of Pottsville. There is a real camaraderie. You know, you're going into a burning building with somebody, and if you or I get in trouble, one of us is counting on the other to get us out of there alive.
Yes.
That's a bond that, you know, until you're a part of it, it's really something special to share. So, you know, I wanted to be a part of that community and you know, ran very active for years. You know, at my age, you know, I'm a dues-paying member and support when I can.
When you became a volunteer, and my friends, to give you an example of what they go through, excuse me, if you Google Samson Productions, go to our website and look under the Girls Show. And there's a show that my wife, excuse me, my daughter did, and they did a reenactment of how they went into a burning building and they themselves went in. It was a very, very interesting show. We did it in Hazleton with the chief was very gracious in letting us go into the, you know, the simulator, etc. Right. And it shows exactly what you're talking about because everything's monitored. And then once something happens, they get to the person to protect them. You know, that's the thing, Dave, that I know people realize this, and I don't want to be redundant, but you don't know what you're going to face when you go in those fires. You know, I mean, you have no idea what's going to, you know, yeah, how many firemen and women lost their lives because they were trying to save something.
Way too many. And you know, if you just think about it for a minute, you know, go into a strange house for the first time.
Yes.
And now add smoke and darkness and fire.
Good point.
You know, it's not that easy. You know, it's one thing to walk around your home at night in the dark. Guaranteed you probably still stubbed your toe on something.
Yeah.
But now you're in a completely strange environment. You don't know if they're a hoarder and have stuff piled up everywhere. You don't know what kind of animals they might have in their house. Are they storing guns? Are they storing gasoline? You know, there's so many unknowns. And you know, firemen and first responders, you know, enter those situations every day. So you've got to have a good team with you, and as you've mentioned already, be equipped correctly, trained correctly, to know, you know, this is what you're walking into and these are the potential dangers, and you're still trying to protect and save somebody else's belongings and home.
Yes.
So, you know, firemen don't always get the credit they really deserve.
Yeah. Without, my father-in-law was a fireman many years, and you know, I've seen what he went through, and you know, the sacrifices they made on the family, and every time that alarm went off, your heart's, you know, you just sinks because you don't know, will your daddy be coming back? Will your husband be coming back? Will your wife be coming back? You have no idea. And that's why, you know, same with policemen and policewomen, you know. So what happens is when we're talking about well-equipped, now that costs money. So we're here at the firehouse, okay, and going back, we started, you guys started the Pottsville Clews, right? Jerry Anders was involved. You were always involved. Jerry did an outstanding job, there's no question. And the monies raised from that cruise went to different areas, okay? And I remember when Jerry took me to different places, and they were the library donating, which was great. It went back to the community. So now what happens is the Pottsville Cruise, which is August the 12th. What primarily is the main event for?
Well, the main event, you know, the good members here at the Humane Fire Department decided they would pick up the cause when the Lions Club just found it tough to do because of membership and so on. And you know, they realized that the average firefighter is $7,000 to $8,000 just to get the gear on them. And you know, the city helps out as much as they can. Block parties have kind of softened over the years as far as fundraisers. Some still run very successful ones. Yorkville here in town, it's the historic block party. It's their main fundraiser. Humane had a block party, and just by, again, numbers and being able to put those things together, got away from it. The Cruise, we found a way that with the amount of members they had, we could put an event on right here, you know, close to their firehouse on Laurel Boulevard, and they could raise several $1,000s every year. And you know, how they apply it then is either towards gear, equipment, you know, truck funds. I mean, you know, these trucks, you know, are extremely expensive to replace and keep up. So, you know, the Cruise has become a very good fundraiser for them. They're happy with it. They're glad they got into it. I think some of the other departments are a little jealous because it was offered to the department as a whole for all 7 companies to get involved in, and they were a little concerned. They knew what the Lions Club put into it for years, and decided it wasn't for all of them. And like I said, the good guys here at Humane said, yeah, we think we can take that on. I've been helping them co-chair it. They've been doing a great job. You know, August 12th this year, we have Tom Wopak coming, one of the original.
Hold that thought, because I want to talk about who you have coming. Okay, I'm talking to Dave Clews, the mayor, but right now I'm talking to him as a volunteer, my friends. And once again, we want to thank the Pottsville Republican for being a media sponsor. Remember, pick up that paper. When you talk about local events and you're talking about being involved, well, the Pottsville Republican, they have been involved, and they're there to help you. And we're very happy to be a media sponsors, as well as we are for the standard speaker in the Hazelton. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. August 12th, big day here in Pottsville, the Pottsville Cruise. We're going to talk to Dave Clews, who has been a volunteer for 40 years and also is the mayor. This is not a mayor's show, it's a show about the Pottsville Cruise. 24/7, my friends, ssptv.com. You can watch all of our local programs, neighborhood programming is what you don't get on many cable channels. And we're very proud to say that we are the #1 local news station, local community station, in providing that information. Today, we're here with Dave Clews. As I said, Dave, now the day of the cruise, okay? Did you know how much did you raise last year?
Just a little over $10,000.
Wow, and that really goes and helps.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, okay. So this year, and tell me exactly what happens that day, because there's a lot of exciting things.
Oh yeah, it's always exciting here. It's amazing that people will show up 2 hours ahead of when we say the event starts. They're lined up here. They come in, they pay their entrance fee of $20, and they find their spot here somewhere along Laurel Boulevard to park their car, and in some cases set up displays around them, and enjoy the day with fellow car people.
Yeah.
We'll have T-shirts. We always do a commemorative T-shirt featuring this year the General Lee and last year's first place car. They do a top 10 car selection here and trophy all of those. So they'll get in place. And then at some point, and we're really excited this year. Like I said, we're going to have the General Lee here from the Dukes of Hazzard, and along with a absolutely beautiful car. Tom Wopak, one of the original Dukes, is going to be here. He'll be signing autographs and car parts, and we're really thrilled.
How'd you manage to get them?
A local police officer from another community had this General Lee built for him, and when he was picking it up, Tom Wopak happened to be doing a car show in that neighborhood, and he thought, well, what a great opportunity to get a picture with my new car with Tom Wopak. Tom loved the car. They got talking, and he said to Tom, if you ever need a nice General Lee to go somewhere with you as a backdrop, call me. I'll be glad to bring my car. I'd be honored. And Tom returned the same thing to him and said, hey, if you ever have a car show and you need an original Duke there, give me a call. So
there you go.
Here he is coming to Pottsville, PA. He sent us a really neat song he sang that he was coming to Pottsville to promote the event. We've been getting caught. It has surprised me how far-reaching it has gotten.
Oh yeah.
That people are coming in from several states away. Say, can I bring my Dodge Charger hood in and have them sign and get a picture with them? It's really going to add to the event. Of course, there'll be great firehouse food here. Several food vendors. We're always prepared for that. We'll have a live band in the afternoon playing. So
right here, right?
Yep. Actually, the building that's across the street is also owned by the Humane.
Okay.
So we set the band up at the entrance to it. So in case we get inclement weather, they can just back up a little bit and be out of the rain. What makes it such a success fundraising-wise, besides all the cars, because let's face it, at $20 a car, 100 cars, that's $2,000, nothing to sneeze about, right? But we have a huge amount of corporate and company sponsors from around the area that contribute to it to help us pay for the band and some other costs that are involved here, trophies and so on. So all that stuff comes together, and it ends up being hopefully a $10,000 plus day. And I think this year, with Tom Wopak going to be here,
do very well.
We're going to do very well.
Yeah. In terms of do you have enough people to be at work that day?
Yeah, we always, when we have our committee meetings, I just talked to somebody the other day who was a first-time attender and said, yeah, I guess it was one of your smaller meetings. There was 6 or 8 people there. I said, no, that's pretty much an average meeting.
Yeah, big meeting.
I said, but the day of, amongst the core committee, all the other volunteers from the firehouse are here. We have some other car clubs that come in and help us, guide the parked cars and things. So everybody comes together.
I opened the show talking about, the expense of what it costs. It's expensive to have, the volunteers to be equipped properly and make sure the fire trucks are running top notch, okay? Sometimes people will say to me, well, Sam, that's all right, but the city, has funding for the fire department and for the police department, okay? And so what they get confused is that there's enough money coming from the city to warrant all of the new stuff that you need in technology. Let's clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, for what it costs to, operate a fire department, the city's probably maybe 1/3 of their funding. The rest they're raising on their own through different means and fundraisers, whatever they need to do to keep these doors open. I just talked to the chief 2 days ago, and in the city of Pottsville, they've run already this year, and it's only July, over 500 calls on a volunteer fire department. It's amazing the response time we have here in the city of Pottsville. Most of our street department and a lot of the parks department people are all members of different fire companies around town here, and they have permission from the city that if there's a fire in the middle of your shift, you can go. I mean, we need you to go.
Yeah, and here again, I just asked you today. I said, now look, here's what you have. If your volunteers are tied up, and you don't have the amount of volunteers that you need, well, who takes over then?
Well, we have, I'm going to use the term agreements, but both Schuylkill Haven and Minersville, St. Clair, the adjoining communities, we all work well together because we all know during the day, a lot of volunteer firemen have full-time jobs.
Yes.
They're not always available.
Yeah.
So every town has enough that they can usually supply at least one, maybe two trucks if we have that kind of situation.
So how would they know that, Dave? Like, for example, today, I mean, if there are people working and God forbid there's a fire in Pottsville and, is the word go out? And I mean, how does that work?
Through the Schuylkill County Communications Center, the word goes out here to Pottsville. Our chief or the person in charge of incident command informs them, what kind of fire we have going, what he may potentially need,
okay,
and who to get in touch with that mutual aid, as it's referred to.
Yes. So in other words, there's a cooperative program that's put into effect when there's the fire, okay? Because it's always amazes me how fast they get to the fire. I mean, the response time is like fantastic.
When you have towns and communities that have a volunteer fire department, there's a big difference between paid and volunteer. Paid fire department, they're sitting here, they're preparing, practicing, they're ready to go at an absolute moment's notice. In a volunteer fire department, everybody's got to get here from where they're at.
Yeah.
So the dynamics of that change things tremendously, and that's one of the reasons our fire department is and most are very active today in trying to recruit new members, because if communities have to start going from a volunteer to a paid department, I don't want to begin to think about what it would do to what would have to be an increase in taxes.
Big time.
Because now you've got to pay professional firefighters
Yes.
24/7 to man a station.
Yes.
Changes things dramatically.
Yes.
So we can be awful thankful for what we have here in the city of Pottsville, and most communities have with their volunteer fire departments.
And that's where I think where the community becomes involved in working with, getting involved in promoting the crews and different block parties, because what's happening, they're saving the taxpayers a lot of money. I just could imagine what the increase would be if you had to fund the fire department.
I don't want to think about it. And the other thing about attending these events is if you've thought about joining a fire department, you get to now see how those people all interact. I think we've all stood in the line for Bellini's pizza, some food at a bean soup at a block party, and watch those people behind there, the good time they're having. They can be standing out in 90-degree temperatures, flipping burgers, and they're having a great time because it's part of that camaraderie, it's part of that brotherhood, and it gives you a real opportunity to see them.
When we come back, we're going to talk about volunteers. You don't necessarily have to put a fire, or get in a fire truck to go and fight a fire to be a volunteer. There's other areas that they can use your help with. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. August 12th is a big day here in Pottsville. It's the Pottsville Cruise. I'm here with Dave Clews. He's been a volunteer for 40 years. He happens to be the mayor as well. We mentioned a little bit about volunteers. You don't necessarily have to be a volunteer in jumping in a truck or going to fire, right? You could tell me how other ways you'd be a volunteer.
Most, from when they get back from a fire, somebody's has to help clean up the rig. Get things prepared for the next call. Most of these companies have, some type of hall that they'll do bingo, dinners, and so on. Looking for they always need volunteers for those type of things. Just being, there's a lot of maintenance around the firehouse. Here, they don't. Well, I guess they might have a little grass and things to, cut and keep up. So
believe me, there's
plenty to do.
Plenty to do, etc. All right, so now let's review. It's August the 12th. It's the Pottsville Cruise. They've been doing it for many, many years. I remember when I was in the car with Jerry Enders and we would go around, and that was fun times with all the crews, and Dave was in there doing all the hard work while Jerry and I just went and just waved to everybody. All right, let's talk about that day from the morning, what happens and who's here and all the good food and the good times.
Yep, on August 12th, we're right out in front of the firehouse here. We'll have the registration table set up, all the t-shirts for sale. We'll have the General Lee here and Tom Walpack right here on the tarmac in front.
The actual car from the Dukes of Hazzard, right?
Not the actual car from the Dukes of Hazzard, but a very well done knockoff, if you will. And then we also display last year's #1 car here. They'll be set up here. Cars will start parking along Laurel Boulevard. Our vendors will be off on the side over to our left here with food and a couple of crafters coming. One of the nice things is they have an air-conditioned hall here, so whether you're enjoying some firehouse food or grab something from a vendor.
And we have a big truck coming down now. That's the pleasure of doing outside taping.
That's it.
Okay.
Nice hall to sit down in and relax in the air conditioning.
Good. It's a fun day.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
A fun day. I really wish sometimes or one year we could do the traveling of the cars again, but I understand all the details and all the stuff's changed.
It has gotten exceptionally challenging with Market Street here being PA Route 209.
It's always
pretty tough. We've thought about some alternative routes. We thought we had something we might let go this year, but we're going to have to rethink it and maybe next year. It'll never be like it used to be. Like most things change over years. Everybody misses the rolling cruise.
Oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun. And people used to come. They had the picnics around their homes and.
Oh yeah, that was a big go home and visit Pottsville weekend.
It was like a reunion for them.
Absolutely.
Well, I wish you the best, Dave.
Thank
you. And normally when we do the mayor's show, my friends, we always end with a fundraiser we're going to have, but I'm not going to mention it now because this is the cruise show. But I haven't forgotten, and I appreciate the fact that some of you want to be on the committee. We'll talk about it on the next mayor's show, okay? August 12th, find some time, have a good day, and enjoy yourself. There are a lot of great people here, and the fire department, as well as the police department, always can use your help. We'll see you next time.